You may have heard of the Hungry Pumpkin. Some users have made fun of this minigame found in Pumpkin World and have even made YouTube poops based off of it. But what most people don't know is about the minigame that has its origin to it. It was based off a rather disturbing event that took place in a particular cafe. Nobody knew why this person wasn't banned, but for some reason the owner of the cafe took a liking to this customer. He creeped out children, and he had a weird, gross-out appearance. Perhaps something gained from his horrible eating habits. He would even come to the cafe every day because he loved the food there. That wasn't a problem with him at first, but soon he started to become attached to the cafe after eating a couple times. At first, he started to treat the workers and other customers poorly. If a food dish was slightly off or not how he wanted it to be, he would decline it and sometimes even break the plate in rage due to his short temper. Other issues involved him grossing out people by drinking a container of ketchup. He also had terrible hygiene, which made other customers either leave or sit fairly far away from him. Sometimes he would even leave the cafe without paying for his meal, but for some reason that didn't bother the owner. Other people would nickname him the Pumpkin Man due to how he looked. They would secretly keep it to themselves because the cafe owner would scold anyone who would, make fun of him, and sometimes even kick out people who said anything bad about this supposed pumpkin man because he claimed to be severely mentally ill and that other people should go easy on him because of it. This happened even when the employees would make legitimate complaints about him, like breaking silverware plates and even in one instance biting another employee who tried to take his food away due to not paying. Eventually, his behavior took a turn for the worse. The Pumpkin Man walked into a cafe one morning and he was about ready to enjoy a good and rather decent looking breakfast, thinking about the pancakes and syrup among other things. There was just one problem though. The cafe had a shortage of butter on that day. This whole incident could have been avoided, but the owner pointed to a young couple who he had given the last of the butter to. He went over to the couple and demanded that they give him their stick of butter. They both refused and just spat on him, and that's when he lost his temper. He didn't want to be denied of his meal, and he lashed out at one of them. The others tried to rush in and help him when they heard screaming, and when they were able to subdue the Pumpkin Man, it was simply too late. The victim got in the way of his meal and had to stay in the hospital where he died a few days later. He should have been arrested for this, but the owner was able to get the crook cops of the small town to look the other way, with a generous bribe. Everyone became frightened by the Pumpkin Man at this point in time and had gotten fed up with his behavior. After that incident was covered up, the Pumpkin Man was the only one who came into that cafe, and when the owner saw him come in, he'd smile and prepare a delicious meal, which was always ready for him before the Pumpkin Man even got there. Now, if you're interested in finding out about this cafe, you may be disappointed because if you try to look up the story on Google, there won't be anything there. Also, that cafe went out of business a few years later because, as I said, people stopped going to where the insane Pumpkin Man quite literally bit someone's face off. After its closing, the owner disappeared and was never seen again. Luckily, the same thing happened to the Pumpkin Man, which brought joy to everyone who lived around this area. One of the employees who got used to work at that cafe pitched the idea to a couple of people about designing a pumpkin world. He suggested that the idea of the rude pumpkin who would be a complete glutton, and the designers was thinking that this was actually a clever idea and agreed to make a somewhat retarded flash game based off of it. However, they weren't aware of what was being portrayed or what was actually being parodied. And now you know the mystery of the weird YouTube poopy hungry pumpkin game. Hope you enjoyed this story. To be frank, I was actually kind of surprised by this story. I'm not gonna lie. The name Give Me the Butter was making me think it was a creepypasta. And normally, I was actually only going to read the story for the amusement of the people who I got in a Skype call right now, which you guys can't hear because I'm a jackass. But nonetheless, the story, Give Me That Butter, isn't as bad as the name would imply. I'm not going to lie. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is no details whatsoever, and quite literally the only thing that is there is a disgusting image of a guy who I presume to look like the Boomer mixed with freaking Keanu Reeves from The Matrix looms in my mind. But nonetheless, the story itself has nothing wrong with it. However, the only thing that the story is a skeleton of a possibly good story. When it comes to gaming, video gaming creepypastas, the only thing that you really have is the quality of your writing. And the writing here is actually fairly good. Great sentence structure and easy to read and all that magical stuff. But the idea for creating a unique concept is completely out the window. Anything involving haunted games or gaming mysterious origins has been done to death. Therefore, I can't say, well, the writing was bad, but the idea was good, because the idea will most certainly never be good in any retrospect. So you only have the writing to rely on when it comes to making a gaming creepypasta, which is why I like them, because it involves either really good or really bad stories being produced. Anyway, moving on, the sentence structure is amazing, and I absolutely like the build-up and the description of this guy. I actually read it in one take, which is surprising because that was kind of hard to do. But nonetheless, the retarded pumpkin man game now has an origin, and an origin of one involving a man biting someone's face off over fucking butter. And I only have one thing to say to you guys after absolutely saying that asinine sentence. Give me the butter. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, That Creepy Reading, and I would like to mention that I do have a Patreon, and quite literally, due to a house fire, there's a lot of things that need to be replaced, and if you want to be a part of helping that out, I will let you guys choose a video type they want me to produce. That means if you want me to do a creepypasta, or if you guys want me to do a specific narration, I will do it. And this means quite literally anything from Ted the Caver to Jeff the Killer. I don't care. I'm whoring myself out at this point. I need some things replaced, and if you guys want to help me, I will give you updated feedback on whatever I use the money on. This has been your host, That Creepy Reading, and my Patreon will be linked in the description below. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and goodbye.